Hi, so I'm going to start by addressing the questions in order this time. With question one, what are some things that align with what I already knew from the readings? Some of the rules that I already knew were to never use all caps to emphasize something, never to use slang, and never to use jargon, unless communicating with somebody in the same industry. You have to know your audience. Also, to use clear language and plain words to help your audience understand. Lists also help people understand better. I have a really hard time understanding directions if there's not a list given. The final thing I want to mention is how important pre-writing is. I learned it a long time ago and it's reiterated in every class I take. I utilize this skill often when making these discussion videos as well. Moving on to the second question, I'm going to focus on things that extend my knowledge, starting with the most boring, being Google Docs. That entire section was new to me. I've never really used Google Docs. As I previously mentioned, pre-writing is super important. However, I didn't really realize how much information you might need to pre-write for a business document. I have very little experience with business writing. Parallel construction was something I was always vaguely familiar with, but never really knew what it was called. Just knew that I needed to do it to make things make sense. And I was definitely unaware of all the ways it could be applied. I would only think of things like lists and not necessarily sentences being equal on both sides. The third question asks what surprised me from the text. Initially, I couldn't think of anything, so I went back and reread parts of the study plan, and I found several. The first of which being bias-free writing. I'm surprised that when it is an option to avoid saying his or hers and say theirs instead, that it would be preferred to say his-hers in some situations. Something about parallel structure that surprised me was that when using lists, you can start them with a present tense verb to achieve that. I tried this out on my own several times because it surprised me. The you view, that was an entirely new concept to me, and it definitely also challenged my views. Because as a consumer, I don't feel it's necessary, but from a business perspective, I can understand it might make certain customers feel as if you care about them more. Me, I'm more to the point. I only need to be told the package will be there Friday. I already know it's mine. Finally, I'll address my thoughts on how my experience will help with the assignment. I don't really have much experience, so after reading the study plan, I feel a lot better than I did before. I do have the ability to identify an opinion and inappropriate communication, so this assignment might be hard for me because I don't know a lot of forms of business communication.